Hey listeners, Mallory Wilsey here, Chief Producer of the Enrollify Network. I get the privilege of working alongside all of our creators at Enrollify, but I wanted to take just a quick moment to tell you about why I love the Talking Tactics podcast hosted by Diana Kibbolds. Every other Tuesday, Day drops a new episode where she focuses on a single tactic that moved the needle on any enrollment metric, from inquiries and booth visitors to apps completed and deposits, even registrations, you name it. The catch? The tactic had to be done with limited resources, either by a single person or a small but mighty team, or limited time, or maybe without a lot of money. The podcast format is fun and engaging, and it's just different from the more traditional 60-minute interview style shows. If you work in enrollment management or marketing, be sure to give Day's show a listen. You can subscribe to the show by visiting podcast.enrollify.org or just search Talking Tactics wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello, and welcome to Generation AI, the podcast where we demystify artificial intelligence in the world of higher education. I'm your host, Ardis Kadiu, joined by my insightful, tired, good-looking, always on. Do I have enough adjectives there, JC?
You've redeemed yourself. You redeemed yourself this time.
Okay. JC Bonilla, everybody.
And yes, I am good-looking and I'm also tired. Everybody, great to be here. You know, sometimes I was just telling artists, I went to LA for 3 hours and under 24 hours type of gap, and I'm a little bit sleep deprived. But you know, artists, when was the last time when we were like 20 and sleep deprived, hungover, and we came to work? You know, let's just pretend that I'm coming from like the most awesome party. I didn't sleep because, you know, I was out and I'm going to crush the day and just a little hungover.
That's right.
Not that sexy, not that interesting, but it's the same feeling. That's how my body feels. Is that right? Is that right, everybody?
Hey, it gets better with time. It gets better with time, yes.
Actually, it is not, right? You really feel it with time.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm destroyed. So if anything, everybody, pretty tired, but we're here and excited to be showcasing. Go, artists.
Well, I was going to ask you, was the trip successful?
Very successful. We have a gigantic new operation in LA where VaynerX, the conglomerate, has launched multiple operations. So we kicked off the office. I also have an analytics team that we've hired for the past 6 months, and I've never met them. So I had the opportunity to do that social human aspect. So, you know, one of those things that you just go to be seen and spend time with humans, and you come back and, oh my gosh, I have the opportunity to do something special there with the folk that I work with. So really, really good trip. And of course, miss the little ones. So I was really excited to see my kids in the morning because, you know, I took the red eye. So they kind of jump into my arms and everything. So, man, that was the best feeling when you jump in and they're like full of eye boogers and whatnot in PJs and daddy. That was nice, man.
That's excellent. Yeah, I missed that when they were little. Now it's like they're a little bit bigger, so.
They're like, oh, daddy was gone for 48 hours?
Yeah, exactly. I'm gone for like, you know, a whole week, and they're like, you know, I'm just going to hang out with my cousins now. So, you know what? Forget it. I'm going to see you later.
Yeah. Well, thanks for asking, Ardis. Hey, you want to know what I put together for us today?
Well, yeah, I mean, so given that this is an unconventional day for you, last 24 hours or 48 hours, it seems that we're going to be talking about, you know, the opposite, which is, a routine with AI.
It is. So in our 24 hours that our dear God has blessed the earth with, right? Or the universe has blessed us with, right? There are routines. And I just went through an intense routine. Ardis, you've been traveling a lot. But I think that we want to talk about all of us, parents, single professionals, people who are basically crushing workouts in the morning. But whatever your routine looks like, we're making an assumption that Monday through Friday, there's basically 3 segments of time that are very repetitive. That morning routine, which for you, Ardis probably starts like at 5 a.m., for me, maybe at 6:30. And I know it's going to stretch to like 8:45. And that's basically my morning routine. Ardis, what is your time slot for the morning routine when you haven't hit at the office the stereotypical 9 to 5? When does it start and what is your 6:30 to 8:45 in my terms? What is it for you?
It's a 5 o'clock for me, 5 to 9. And, I wake up every morning and I used to go to the gym, but the past few months I haven't been going to the gym. So first thing I do is, again, just I'm really plugged in. So I try to be plugged in as much as possible. In most cases, I do wear my Apple Watch, and sometimes I have that as an alarm. So it wakes me up depending on different times. But most of the time I wake up at 5 and I go strictly to my phone and start.
Let's not unveil the use cases yet. So I just want to talk about the time routine so everybody understands the time lot. So we're talking about that a morning one. So you're going from 5 to like, would you say the second routine, which I'm going to call the 9 to 5, clocks in for you? Me is 8:45. You?
I would say it depends on when I have I try not to schedule meetings before 9. So we do have folks who are earlier in the day for us. So I need to kind of get in communication with them as well. So I would say, 5 to 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. All right. So everybody, this is a routine where Ardis 5 to 8, me 6:30 to 8:45, where we basically are either working out, getting us prepared for the start of the day, which we're going to now bring the second routine, the 9 to 5. In Ardis' case, probably 8-ish, my case 8:45. But at this point, I put on my worker hat and my routine starts switching. Unfortunately, half of my time, or 90% of my time, is going to meetings. But, in that construct, for me, 8:45 to like about 5:30, I'm really operating in JC, the worker, the professional. So that's the routine that I want to talk about. What is it for you? 8:30 to like, when would you say you would switch off to to Ardis, the non-working professional? What is it for you?
So 8 to 6 for me. So that whole block. Yeah.
All right. This overachiever, my gosh. Anyway, Ardis clocking out at around 6, me about 5:30. Mine is actually timestamped by school pickup, so after school programs and whatnot. So 5:30 for me to like, I'm just going to bring it all the way to the bedtime routine because I will find there's microcycles, but this is the evening routine and we're just going to call it the winding down, the basically me time. And of course, many parents do routines, professionals, people go out, but that's basically the time slot that we want to come and say, then I'll hit the bed and reset. So 3 routines, early starts for Ardis and I. You may have your own different ones. And what we want to do through these 3 routines is we want to walk you through how we see AI making these routines the promise of AI. Structure, faster, optimized, and technology enabled, knowing that AI is here not to take over our lives, but as you know, Ardis perspective and I, we're technology optimists, so AI is here to make our lives better. And if anything, Ardis and I I would say that we're maybe on the top of the food chain when it comes to human versus technology. So we're here to tell AI what to do and how to help us. Is that right, Ardis? Techno optimist and on top of the food chain, human to technology?
I mean, sure, yes.
For now.
Right. That's right.
So you've started your day looking at your clock and then you went into news. So one of the first applications of AI, it's on sleep, specifically because we know that sleep has this cycle. So many of us wake up and one of the first things that we want to do, and maybe because we're a bunch of nerds, it's to understand how well did I sleep? And you don't need AI to do that. You can really feel rested or not, and good mattress, bad mattress type of thing. But there's something really interesting of the retrospective of my sleep cycle and how well of a rest I capture. Tons of applications from smartwatches to other AI, ML powered devices to really understand, am I ready to hit the day or not? So are you in that boat where you look at sleep as retrospectively, how well did I sleep?
Sometimes I do. I do usually wear my watch sometimes, and it tells me in the morning, hey, good job, where it's like, you only got 4 hours of sleep. So, but I don't do it as often. So that's something that I need to get better at.
There's a ton of applications, for example, for my little kids, right? And when they were, in training, there's a lot of, I'm going to use the word instrumentation the AI is doing when the conditions change. So soothing things will come in, music. And what I'm finding right now, there's Neil, my wife, she uses the Calm app, and it's fascinating how it aids sleeping. And what it's supposed to help you do is reach your sleep cycles of deep sleep faster and more consistently. Because when you see these AI outputs, it looks like a cycle, and sometimes you sleep 8 hours, but you did not rest the 8 hours, right? As we know. So it's really interesting how there's a whole application on AI there. All right. You said that you're going to the news. Is that really what happens? From you wake up, you there's light time, and then you plug into probably your social media and your inputs of data, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I think you're a LinkedIn guy and a news person. So talk to us about that and how do you see technology, AI mediating that part of Ardis?
Yeah, so right now I have a lot of newsletters that come my way. And one of the things that I need to do is kind of make sense of a lot of that stuff. So I use a combination of Perplexity really early on the day just to kind of, I have a couple of prompts that I use in terms of, hey, tell me what's happening in this particular space or that space. And it's actually pulling together news sources from the day before on topics that I'm interested. But I also subscribe to a whole bunch of newsletters that are a little bit more curated. The information is a really good source. Every.to, they do a really good newsletter, Ben's Bytes, and AI. So I have about a dozen or so of these sources, and I try to go through them in a more kind of summarization type of way. So that's where I tend to use AI quite a bit during that process of summarization, putting a link into either Gemini or ChatGPT and say, hey, give me some points here. So I tend to do that every, in the morning. And I do post a lot of things during that time in the morning as I kind of digest a lot of this news information that's coming in.
Yeah, you're very active and productive in the morning in terms of getting information and dispersing information. Definitely a great application of AI. Two things that I want to call out for me. Number one, I could use more AI at that. Now I understand how I feel and like to look at my sleep cycles. But then I go really manual, meaning what does my day look like? And if I go to the gym or I have to make breakfast for the kids, I just go in basically in production mode. But there's this aspect of game planning that I think AI could be very smart in understanding that, JC, if you're going to go to the gym and you're going to go make breakfast and you already said that you wanted to do oatmeal, maybe this is the best 3 or 4 steps to optimize your time. Because what happens in my life is that I know from my wake up to my 8:45, every minute counts. Why? Because I left my first daughter, needs to be dropped off at 8, and then the second one at 8:30. So literally, I need execution by the clock. And when things take more than 5 minutes than what they should have taken, we're behind schedule. So something that I really could say is AI could start thinking about prompts that calibrate based on what I want to do, accomplish that day, and it kind of gives me the flow, right?
This is a really, really good example of what's happening right now in the market is that there is a lot of these first generation AI devices that are essentially not your phone, like the Pin, for example, or the R1, the Rabbit R1, and a couple other things that are just devices that are helping. They're generative AI devices, and they're helping you with your day-to-day life, but they're not your phone. So in this case, an ambient device that doesn't have a screen, but it's just attached to you, and it knows everything about you, can just keep you and notify you, and it's smart to let you know those things, right? So the Pin, I think it's a really good one that you might want to take a look into. Like, it hasn't received amazing feedback or reviews, but it's really early on with these devices that we can just attach to ourselves right now and have a way for them to have smarts, generative AI and smarts, and notify us without actually having a screen that we have to look at, but it's just ambient. I mean, the Ray-Ban glasses are a good example of that, but I don't know how, if you put those glasses on in the morning and then you can put your glasses inside. It's more like something that you have on you that's kind of telling you all these things.
Yeah, and this is where it seems that the beginning of the day, wearables and AI with wearables are going to become more friendly and more mainstream. Ardis, I find that one of the most inefficient things in the morning for me, for my spouse, and I don't know, everyone that I've spent time with, it's the routine of whether you take a shower or not, you get ready and you're looking at your closet and what am I wearing? It's such a waste of time. And many of us would put in like 5 to 7 minutes. And then I hear my wife going like sometimes 15, 20 minutes and I don't know what, I didn't have the right clothes. Like it's a whole thing, right?
It's a whole thing.
Right. So we know something about AI is that it's an amplifier of efficiency or a ruthless killer of inefficiencies. So my point is that's a really inefficient part of our cycles. If you like it, keep it. But there's a ton of applications today on AI and clothing. So basically you're tailored and streamlined to the right outfits. But I really see an opportunity there where AI assists me on style, selection of clothes, and minimizes the wastes of neurons that in time that go into what am I going to wear today, right? Because it's such a strange thing. In artists, half of the fear, you know what is? It's subjective. Is that I don't know if it's going to look.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares.
Right. Nobody cares, but it's you. So maybe with AI, we get that validation, like this is what you look the best, and then maybe it gets optimized. I don't know. Thoughts on that?
I mean, I like it. You look amazing. Like, it's just love to have something that's like, this really goes, it's amazing. This is on trend today. So the AI mirror, right? We need that.
The AI mirror or the speaker, like every time you put in the shirt, it makes like sexy sounds like, oh yes. That's probably a better app. Anyway, but there's definitely an application to everybody. If you have not seen the deployment of AI with retail, specifically in clothing, it's super fascinating, right? So you can be fitted and you can start receiving items that optimize based on, I guess, your look or your desires, and it's a better fit.
Mm-hmm.
Last thing on morning routines, there is a whole body of work, 20 years of smart gadgets, right? And the smart home from, delay starts. That's not AI, but, you can have your coffee maker start, those type of things. But really the instrumentation and the orchestration is there. So I just wanted you to react to the following. If we've been talking about agents and workflows, there's something really, really simple, whether you have an Alexa or a Google or any type of smartphone workflows that really starts getting the connectivity into these devices as long as they are, because it's an orchestration thing. If you're doing breakfast, right, and it's toast and this and all these things are interconnected, it's a press of a button and you have a synchronized kind of routine already at play. And that is, I'm not talking about technology of the future. I'm talking about that can be done today. It's very simple.
Yep. Well, I went in and I bought actually one of the coffee machines, a Jura coffee machine that is Wi-Fi enabled, and I can now connect it to the automation in my house and say, "Hey, make me a cup of coffee." Of course, this has been around for a while, but this types of kitchen gadgets are becoming more and more common right now. And at first, I was impressed, but then, because sometimes it takes about 5 minutes when you're down in a kitchen and you're like, hey, I wish I had a cup of coffee right now. It just the machine needs to warm up and do all of that. But if it did that before I came down, it would be great.
Home automation is not AI. But what I think is a really interesting AI play here is that
it's the orchestration part.
Is the orchestration and knowing that your calendar can be a feed into this orchestration. And what this feed does is that it would orchestrate according to your day. And that's a really interesting, simple use case, but definitely AI is ready to do it.
Okay.
All right. So we are AI ready in the morning. And in my case, 8:45 for you artists, probably around 8 o'clock. And all of your listeners, whatever your time is. But now we're going to switch hats. The hat is, I am the working professional, right? I really feel that there's a handoff between this guy who wakes up in the morning, whatnot, to like, I am sitting down or I'm starting to talk to somebody. And just the world feels different. So at this point, it's the productivity JC, right? The executive, the academic, whatever you want to call it. So we go into work daily vibes. Really, one of the first things that is going to happen for me, artists, it's the, 11 times I've mentioned the Chat GPT custom bots I've built for communications. I just go into communication mode, either Slacks, text messages, or emails, and I'm responding. I go into that aspect, and my world is dominated by AI as my editor-in-chief, and throughout the day, it comes and goes. But that's really how usually my day starts. What about you, Ardis?
It's the same. It's the same for me. So I actually have 4 different chatbots that I use, and they all are very different, and I use them for different things. I have ChatGPT, which has the custom GPTs for me. So if I need something that's very, very quickly and fast around certain things, I use ChatGPT with my custom GPTs. I use Claude a lot. I've been using it a lot lately. And the reason for that is because if I need to write something a little bit longer form, Claude is a really, really good one. It doesn't have a connection to the internet, so I don't use it for research or summarizations and things like that. I tend to use ChatGPT mostly for that. And then Gemini has been really, really good about kind of giving me very social, media summarizations. And it's really good at providing that language. So I've built a couple of prompts in there. So I use those 3 the most, and then Perplexity for the research part. So 4 of them, I use them every single day as I start my day, and depending on what kind of tasks I'm doing. I do consume a lot of content. Like that's number one, right? So that's been my primary use of those.
Hey, it's Mallory. Exciting news! I'm hosting the Engage Summit in Raleigh on June 25th and 26th, and I'd love to meet you there. Together, we'll dive into the mind of the modern student, what fires them up, how they interact, and what they expect in today's digital age, and how tools like AI help put them in the driver's seat of their education. We have some terrific speakers, including our closing keynote, New York Times best-selling author Jeff Selingo. Sessions will dig into practical ideas and innovative strategies to get your team more student-centered and ready to adopt AI. And many of your favorite Enrollify hosts are presenting too, like Jamie Hunt, Jenny Lee Fowler, and Brian Gross. Use the discount code Enrollify50 for an extra $50 off your registration. Learn more and register at engage.element451.com. We can't wait to see you there.
Super. So if I am not producing content, the other logical thing where I see AI popping in, and if you're not already doing this, everybody, I'm going to go into meeting mode. And the highest common AI application in kind of meeting vibes, it's the note taker, right? That assistant who is transcribing. The meeting gets recorded, transcribed, and summarization, and all these great natural language processing agents will come in and could even give you actions, right? Let's go into 2 different vibes for our work routine. I think that as I become the professional, right, it's about productivity, and you're doing a ton of kind of managing teams, managing projects. And what I love for you and I to read in the next 5 minutes or so, it's how can we start thinking about either the virtual assistants, 2, the project management tools, or like the very functional and super hyper specific things like for creative that you may be doing and things, or DevOps that you may be doing that are AI powered, and you see it coming and going in your day, right? So not emails, not meetings, but now I'm either managing a team, either managing projects, and assistants are coming in, or specialized AI tools for those things. So what comes to mind, Ardis, in that kind of part of your 9 to 5?
So when you think about agents, right, we're talking about, okay, how do we take like a whole task? It's not just one simple thing. You're taking a whole workflow, a whole productivity thing. For a developer, that can be anything from using Copilot, GitHub Copilot to start producing some code. But then lately, tools like Devin, for example, that's been a whole agent that is actually going from beginning to end in producing a whole project. Like that's becoming more and more relevant. And the idea of us experimenting with those right now and trying to get more and more prototypes is really, really important. At Element, we've been like, of course, I can talk about myself and like the tools that I'm using myself, but this idea of agents has become more and more relevant. And one of the things that we've introduced 2 weeks ago is AI assistants, where you can now talk to your AI in the tool that you're in your CRM, for example, right? you're communicating with it, and it's staying alongside you, and it's doing things with you and for you in your current system. If you're using HubSpot, if you're using Salesforce, like maybe there's Einstein there, but at Element, it's our Bolt AI assistants that are helping our schools with that. But these copilots or AI assistants is going to be baked into your current tools, right? Baked into your tools that you're doing your work is the way you're going to be interacting with AI alongside the current work that you're doing.
I ask you the question that way because what's in my head is that unless I am producing some type of content, right? Unless I am in meetings, there's not a dominant AI application that I think has emerged. And it's exactly what you just mentioned. It's an application system or technology use case. So for example, I'm going to bring, I don't know, I need to check on projects. So maybe I'll bring Jira, or maybe I'll even use technology. It's there in my notebook, right? But whatever system I'm using, if that system has an AI powered X agent, chatbot or whatever, then I benefit from AI. But chances are that, like me, you all are not benefiting from it because that use case has not emerged and is not dominant. So I'll give you two specific examples. I have, dispersed teams. Everyone has their own different projects. So I'm opening 7 Google Sheets and PowerPoints and systems to basically understand what is happening and sensing my system, talking about the people that I work with and whatnot, and checking on status. What is this happening? That's very manual. So if anything, I am not seeing a hardcore AI application in my life today that could help me drive through this repetitive aspect of sensing the teams, the projects, and kind of where they're at. However, if I am doing this, let's say Microsoft, right, and I'm a Microsoft user, then maybe Copilot is there. The opportunities in that aspect. How can I start thinking about doing this through the already AI-enabled features that the system or technology has? Ardis, what's your take on that?
Yeah, but we do have a very management perspective on this, right? And kind of leadership perspective. Like we're managing teams, we're managing people, but that's not always the case, right? So there's individual contributors that are listening to this podcast and they're like, look, I don't need to understand what the team is doing. Like I'm just honed into my individual task.
They're like, I'm not like you guys. I actually do real work.
Real work, exactly. I don't go from meeting to meeting. So it's been really interesting, actually. One of the things that I've tried to do at Element is that we try to record and have meeting note takers for every one of our meetings. We're still getting used to it. We're not quite there yet, but it becomes very helpful because now I can go in and I can pick a set of meetings, 5, 6, 10 meetings, video recordings, and I can go in and say, pull up, if it's customer meetings, pull up some of the concerns that customers brought up or something like that, right? So I can do that across multiple meetings with some of the tools that I'm using, right? We use TLDV for that. And it's basically because it's transcribed everything, I can go in and just like a ChatGPT, write a prompt and do that. So that's been very, very useful for me because now I can go in and actually listen in to some of those meetings and have a clear understanding of what's going on in certain ones. But that's a management perspective view, right? That's a very different one.
I have to tell you, Ardis, that point is so interesting because think about the individual contributor. And I'm going to take it straight to your backyard. Half of the people who may be listening to this, they got done the meetings or communications. So they're going to spend 70% of their time, doing what? Element, or your respective CRMs. You know how many of our followers spent 80% of their 9 to 5 on a tool like Element? And it's a really interesting thing how the opportunity to leverage AI in platform, in tool, in CRM, it's already delivered there. So Ardis, didn't you just have a gigantic AI release that actually it's right in center on what I'm talking about?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's Bolt AI Assistance. It's essentially, like I started talking a little bit about this idea of a copilot or assistant. You jump into the system, you can ask it to catch me up. It actually does that for you. It tells you, hey, this is all the tasks that have been assigned to you. This is all the application decisions that need to be handled. And you can then ask it, okay, can you help me craft those communications or reach out? can you help me complete those tasks? Can you help me build campaigns? And by the way, I have my dashboard, so I have some questions around data, and then it's able to pull some of that data out of it. So that's from a staff productivity perspective, which is huge, right? It's like you don't need to do the research, you don't need to do, the writing yourself. Like you can have this assistant do a lot of that stuff for you. So we believe that that's going to be the future of how you interact with your systems of record, right? It would be really nice for you to have, let's say, a VaynerMedia assistant, right? Or multiple assistants in VaynerMedia to say, I have knowledge about all of these different projects and everything that's going on. Do a catch me up. And then now, once of a sudden, you're brought up because all the different projects that are going on. So that's what we're building for universities and schools, right? So we're building exactly the same thing, but it's now embedded in your CRM, and you can go in and ask those types of questions and have it build assets actually in the CRM. So not only can you do just discovery and aggregations, you can also build assets and build stuff. So you can go in and, in your case, for example, you can, if you had one, you can go ahead and say, hey, prepare me for this meeting, or I have this campaign that I need to do. Can you put a slide deck together for me, right? And imagine now you can do that out of the box because it has all that content in one place.
All right, everybody. So different use cases during our workday, but now in our imaginary day, let's just go home or let's unplug, right? So let's start talking about introducing the evening routine.
Are you really unplugging though? Do you really unplug?
Well, this is, I knew you were going to go there. So I'm going to give us guardrails. It's an evening wind down. You're not allowed to go back to work. So what I want us to do is, in my imaginary AI powered day, you finish work and you're just going to start a routine that is just, of entertainment and whatever routine looks like. So first thing, and first use case is you're going home, or you're basically turning off a laptop and you're moving upstairs or whatever, assuming you're work from home. But there's a logistical thing that takes place. And I personally find myself not planning these with the AI. I still go to 1990s vibes. Okay, I'm going to go home and I need to buy this, I need to buy that, right? Or I have 11 minutes, literally what's the best route? Maybe you just, if you're driving, just in the car, you basically press the button. But from the moment this takes place, and there should be a button that says, I'm going home, and a system of decisions and optimizations kick in. But this is the best way to do that. I am done with work, so I'm going to start dinner, or I'm going to start my own, cocktail hour, whatever. These are basically what follows in the process. I find that to be something that very few people are doing. I am not doing, but it's definitely a no-brainer, and tons of applications where AI could come in and do that, right? Ardis, what's your 10 seconds on autonomous driving? You can even take it to the next level, that if you have, autonomous driving somehow powering your car, you can really start relaxing and take me home, right? Where are you at with that?
Yeah. Well, that morning routine, we didn't account for your morning commute during that one. So a lot of folks are driving to work. So it can be both back and forth. Look, I bought a car about a year and a half ago, and the Teslas there was a long wait for some of them. And I'm like, you know what? They're not ready yet. So I'm going to do, the next one is going to be a Tesla. Just for the self-driving component of a Tesla. And I've been really, really impressed with where they are and what they've been doing. It's just amazing the ability for you to have this semi-autonomous or even autonomous driving, and you can sit back and actually be engaged in something else while the car does that. You're actually seeing a lot of these cabs and taxis, the Waymo taxis in San Francisco and in California, where you can call them and you can jump into a cab and there's no driver there. So this idea of autonomous driving it's here. It's not quite distributed right now, but we're going to be seeing it more and more. And it's going to be disrupting how we're going to commute, because we use our cars maybe 5% of the time. And that's a fact, right? That's absolutely 5 to 10%. That's the car utilization. 90% of the time, your car sits idle. So it's you're paying for this idle time for a car. So why not just call that car on demand? Now it's an Uber that comes in, or a Lyft, but imagine there's no driver there, and that car can come in and pick you up at 3 a.m., Right now, we have a hard time when I have to leave for early meetings. Like I have to take my car to the airport because there's no Ubers around whatsoever. But if you have autonomous driving, you don't really need a driver. And now that whole idea of 24/7 having a car wherever you are coming to pick you up is really interesting.
That future is very, very close, in my opinion. True what you were saying, this thing that I'm about to introduce can be done at night, in the morning, but can we just riff very quickly about meal prep? If you're a planner, like in my household, we know what we have in that dinner, but and where do we get it? But many of us open the fridge and like, what am I going to be doing, right? So there's a whole aspect of AI and meal prep. Can you just kind of riff us where's the state of the art if I wanted to introduce AI or benefit from AI today or near future on meal prep?
So the first thing that ChatGPT was really good at, people were getting very impressive results when they said, hey, I have this ingredients or put together a meal for me and I have this restrictions. So it's able to do that very, very well. It's amazing at how well it can do that. So once of a sudden now, a lot of the sites that were around nutrition and health and kind of recipes and things like that, they're coming under a lot of pressure. So we're able to do that very quickly right now with ChatGPT or any of these large models. Once they introduced the vision part, right, now you can snap a picture and you can say, what can I make with this, right? It's able to understand all of the ingredients that you have in your fridge. So without you typing everything, so you can just take a picture and in the ChatGPT app, or actually Claude just released their app yesterday, as we're recording this in May 3rd. So Claude now has a mobile app that you can use to take pictures and to send stuff as well. But you can do that and it can make recommendations for you. With ChatGPT, if you have in your custom instructions, if you have certain dietary restrictions in there, it's going to use those custom instructions for you as well and understand that JC is allergic to or I don't like certain types of meals, you have texture issues, whatever it might be. I'm not saying you do, but because you love food, but it could be that you have dietary restrictions and AI understands that. So it has a memory about that stuff as well. So huge benefit to it. In a lot of cases, trying to think about what type of foods kids like and don't like, it can be very good at coming up with creative ideas for kids' meals that you haven't even thought about, but they might like a character or they might like something, and like it will just introduce a certain food in a particular way that connects it to that kid's love for a particular character. So I think we're almost at time, but what are your thoughts and how can we wrap this up?
Look, meal prep, getting home, logistics, those are all part of the routines, and definitely AI is here. There's a whole riff that we can be doing how you wind down, but let's just say it that at this point, because we're optimistic, AI has gotten us to this plan of the day, and we'll grab a glass of wine and we'll go analyze and celebrate it. But so many applications. And everybody, what I just wanted to say is this is not an imaginary day per se. This is literally what is happening today. And as we riff on these ideas, some things are already in our lifestyles. The other ones we're thinking like maybe we should optimize. But that mindset that we have and what we'll be sharing is in a bit how AI is here with us, coexisting, and we're able to benefit from it. Ardis, you want to send us off?
Thanks, everybody. This has been great going through that day. Give us your feedback, like this episode, follow us on wherever you listen to your podcast. Until next time, everybody, this has been fun. Bye-bye. Generation AI is part of the Enrollify podcast network. If you like this podcast, chances are you're going to like other Enrollify shows too. Our podcast network is growing weekly, and we've got a wide range of marketing, enrollment, and higher ed technology shows that are jam-packed with stories, ideas, and frameworks, all designed to empower you to be a better higher ed professional. Our shows help higher ed leaders and professionals like you find their next big idea. They feature a selection of the industry's best as your hosts, like Jamie Hunt, Seth Odell, Jenny Lee Fowler, Brian Gross, and many of your favorite leaders in higher ed. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the next generation AI student engagement platform that's helping institutions all over the country create meaningful, personalized, and engaging connections with their prospects and students. Learn more at element451.com.